Today we have with us our District NYI President, Brother Anderson Brumant, and our District SDMI Director, Sister Cindy Ann Collymore, who are going to share with us on engaging children and youth in mission. So welcome, Andy. Welcome, Cindy. How are you all doing today?
I'm wonderful.
Very well, thanks.
Thanks so much for inviting us, Lee. It's great to be here.
Nice.
Thanks, Lee. Thanks for doing this. I'm just going to be honest off the bat. I believe that there are a lot of misconceptions around missions. And let me explain what I'm saying. Every time I deal with evangelism in NYI, that is the most crowded sessions that I have. Amongst everything that NY does, the young people love to flock towards evangelism and missions. If you look within the NY structure, there's a be, do, go structure. B is evangelism, do is discipleship, go is leadership development. And if you look at the committees that we have, you would see B has the most people and the most active people. And there's a reason for that. I believe that young people love evangelism, young people love missions. So every time I think about the word mission, I think about excitement. I think about new ways of doing things. And I also think that our young people see a deep or gain a deep sense of passion once it comes to evangelism and mission. So I think that's the most exciting part of the church. I absolutely love it.
Thanks, Andy. You talked about people having this misconception of what missions is, and I think that is true. The purpose of NMI is praying, giving to missions, educating about missions, and engaging children and youth in missions. We look at developing missionaries through this part of engaging children and youth in missions. We now look at children and youth, see who has the call for missions, see who's gravitating towards it, and our role is to nurture and to show them the way that they could go in order to become missionaries. A lot of people too think that NMI and evangelism is the same, but we're not the same.
Well, first of all, let me say good morning to everyone. And indeed, it's a pleasure to be here and to share with you. So, when you asked the question about imagery, I actually got an image in my mind. Very many years ago, when I attended my first general convention, there was a flag show at the NMI convention, and the delegates from around the world had to walk with their flag and have the rest of their delegates around it, something like the Olympics, how you have the flag show. As I looked at it, I'm now remembering one of the things I thought of at that time was, wouldn't it be wonderful to see children doing this? So as you asked that question, it just came right back. That's a picture I would get. Children like to be involved. They like to do things. And if we get them involved in something as simple as that flag show, I guess it's a lovely introduction for them to know that they are a part of a bigger picture, not just their own church or not just Trinidad and Tobago, but indeed they are a part of something that is global.
Indeed, NMI is global, and that's something that makes us stand out. NMI looks out more to see how we can do our part to share the gospel with those around the world. Our main scriptures, Matthew 28, 19 and 20. And I also like to look at Acts 1:8, where it talks about being witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the uttermost ends of the earth. I see NMI as the avenue for us to indirectly make disciples of Christ in all nations. So yes, there are a lot of things that we do here that would be of benefit and we'd share the gospel, we would do compassionate ministry drives and all these different things for our local communities and for our nation. And that is all well and good. But the scripture tells us that we are to make Christ-like disciples in all nations. So NMI is really that conduit for us to be able to reach out to all nations. And it's not direct all the time because not all of us are called to be missionaries and in terms of going abroad or going out regionally.
It doesn't take much to engage children in missions or to engage children in anything actually. Once children know that you are interested in them and you are interested in them being a part of what you are excited about, it will be easy to engage them. Take away the idea that missions is NMI or that missions is old people or that missions is that part of the church for adults. Once you present to the children that missions is this really engaging, fun activity that they, the children, have an important role to be a part of, they are going to be excited about it. It really doesn't take much. Just let the children know that they are missions. They can be a part of missions. It's not something that the adults do on a whatever time. It's not something that the older people, brother whomever and sister whomever, is a part of, but it is something that we are a part of. We children, we want you to be engaged in this because this is about you.
Great question, Sister Lee. I will jump in and say this, right? So I don't think NMI and missions has to work very hard to be an exciting ministry because in my mind you guys have an interesting, dynamic and exciting ministry as is. So let me explain what I mean. My Christian life, the most exciting part of my Christian life is when someone was doing missions and they came to my neighborhood and I accepted Jesus Christ. And that was missions in action. They came, they delivered the word, and I accepted Christ. And I always compare it to a honeymoon period. My first period in my Christian walk was some of the most exciting times of my life because I love to call it the fresh fire ministry. At that point in time, I was willing to do anything for Christ. Like literally, I could have gone any part of the country and spread the word. And that is what I see missions as. My first walk, Christian walk, was anything they called me to do, I was doing. And I still think NMI has that formula and they have that recipe. I just want my leaders to continue to burn that fresh fire in everything that they do, whether it is as simple as compassionate ministries. When we do our compassionate ministries, we don't have to do it out of, hey, we're just doing this because, but we do it out of that love and that fire and that spirit that NMI naturally encompasses. Same thing for when we're going out into neighborhoods and communities. Man, that is the most exciting part of the Christian walk for me. So what I want my leaders to do is to continue to burn and bring out that natural fire that missions just generates for me. I love missions. I love going outdoors, anything to do with outdoors and talking to people and sharing the gospel. I naturally love that. And I think that's just a core foundation of what missions is. So just continue to be your natural selves and do what your natural ministry is. And I think people would just automatically be drawn to that because that's where the fresh fire is.
It's very easy to incorporate NMI and missions into the SDMI program. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the whole system of the NMI indeed has children at heart, and they have put certain measures in place to engage children. I remember many years ago they began a project that can be done during the Vacation Bible School activity. And so there's a wonderful time to introduce NMI and missions to children because they are hyped up and they're excited during this concise session, and they actually do a mission project. They actually do something to help. So it's a wonderful launch pad. And it's something I think that is already in place. So SDMI leaders just need to utilize what's already in the framework. Just as there are the monthly emphasis or lessons for the NMI body, I think there is supposed to be a children's emphasis as well. Because I remember specifically doing missions with my Sunday school children, and we actually had a mission Sunday. So on that Sunday, we would teach missions, and we would, whether it would be in children's church or whether it would be during the Sunday school hour, and we would invite persons to come. We would invite missionaries. We have local missionaries right here in Trinidad with us, actually, in the persons of the Manswells. So we can invite them to come. We could invite our missions local president or district council members to come in on that day. And you have 12 different months to try and get them in on one of those days. I don't think we have to go on and recreate the wheel, because there are mechanisms in place in the NMI structure that caters specifically to children. So once we utilize those things, it should be seamless. It really should not be a divide as it sometimes is in our local churches.
That's good. Thanks, Sister Cindy. You hit on a few points that I fully agree with. What I would add to that is that we need to stop looking at ourselves as different ministries. That's the first thing I would say. I understand for reporting purposes we are SDMI, NMI, and NYI, but when it comes to the local church, it's ministry, and it's one ministry. And what I would kind of say is we need to look at the goal, the entire aim, as we're all doing the same thing, pulling in the same direction, trying to achieve one thing, which is the Great Commission, right? Go out into the world and preach this gospel to all nations, baptizing them. So what does that mean? When I do my NYI agenda for the year, there are two things that are always there. One is maximum missions, and the next one is mission to Maracas, which is us trying to open a local church in the Maracas, St. Joseph area. Both are missions, and I can't do that without you, Lee. Anytime I do it, I call Lee. I say, Lee, this is what I want to do. I need NMI support to do this. Because in my eyes, I don't see a divide between what we're trying to do. So I believe that we have, because of maybe the different logos or maybe whatever happened in the past, we have built these walls that says this is a NMI project, this is a NYI project, and at the end of the day we're all trying to do the same thing. Just for inclusion, I'm going to say this is a SDMI project so that we include all departments in this conversation, right? But it's there's no difference. I remember Sister Cindy told me at a time that I sit on the SDMI board and I really fall down. I didn't know that, but in my mind, hey, SDMI is NYI because it's the same young people who do SDMI, it's the same young people who do NYI, and guess what? When missions time come, it's the same young people I'm gonna take to do missions. So the message that I'm giving is there is no divide. We are creating those walls between ourselves, and what we have to do as leaders is sit together like we're doing right now and say, why do we have these walls? Why is our agenda not more aligned? And if our agenda is the same, why don't we work together more? But in my eyes, I don't see those walls because I cannot succeed without missions. I cannot do what I need to do on the NY agenda without SDMI and without NMI. And I believe that we just need to acknowledge that as the first step, align our agendas as the second step, and then start to work together to achieve the goal. The more togetherness in the church, I think it will be the better for us. And we just need to acknowledge that.
And yeah, I fully agree with you in terms of us being one. it's something that I've always tried to share with local NMI presidents, that we work together with SDMI and with NYI, and I try to do that on a district level as well, to be an example to them that we work together to get this done. Because as I was saying to somebody, we cannot pull children to teach children about missions, because that's not my strength. I can't, but Cindy can. And I just use that opportunity now to share. And it's the same thing I would have done at youth camp, asking you for a little session to do something a couple of years ago. And I've done it with SDMI for a few years now, where, they literally now just put us in their program because they know every year we're going to say we want a little spot. I do encourage them to get children and youth involved in whatever they would be doing. As you talk about compassionate ministries, get them involved in, if it is buying things, even if it is that they get them to go with them when they're giving out whatever, to share the gospel with whoever it is they are giving the hampers to. Get them involved in some way. Even I've also encouraged them to, let them help in teaching the sessions, so that way they go for themselves and they would do the research and bring it back and share it in their own way. So those were some of the things that I've been encouraging people to do over for the time that I've been in NMI, in terms of linking NYI and SDMI and getting everybody involved in what we're doing.
So let me say this. This might be a little bit of a controversial answer, right? So hopefully I don't get kicked out of the Zoom after I say this, right?
Right.
I think that we should have missions as a natural part of what we do in NY. If you ask me, it should be a third of what we do, because we are built on be, do, go. So B being evangelism, which directly links to missions, even though it's not exactly the same, but it's a direct link to what we're doing in missions. A third of what the NY does should be focused on missions, should be focused on getting new people to join the NYI and growing the NY, etc. What I would ask though is that rather than say, and missions does a month, what I would think about it, and the way I would guide my NY people to do it, is that how do we get missions to be an integral part of every session that we have? What I mean is, it doesn't have to be the focus of every topic that missions come and teach, but everything that we do should have a view of the Great Commission. It should have a view of what we try to do, which is bring more people to Christ. So missions play a very fundamental part in that. So what I would prescribe, it's once a month, I probably wouldn't say that. I would say, how do I get my missions director or my missions leader to be a fundamental part of every NYI session? And how do we get them to plan an annual agenda that encompasses a mission element all the time? Because even though the topic this week may not be a missions focused topic, I still wanted to have a missions element that says we are bringing more people to Christ. So I don't want to be the one that prescribes how they do it, but I want them to understand their end goal. And the end goal should always be a mission element that says we are bringing people to the knowledge of Christ. And every program we do brings somebody something extra about Christ. How do I continuously keep teaching people about Christ? So I want the mission director to actually be sitting on my NY board, dictating the agenda, dictating where missions fit in. How are we bringing more people? How are we doing compassionate ministries? Just remember, the NYI is supposed to be teaching the future leaders. So somewhere in the middle of this, NYI is supposed to be teaching a future NMI leader. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. So you are supposed to be teaching somebody to be a future SDMI coordinator, a future NMI leader. And in order to do that, I would like the NMI person to actually be on the board working with the president, ensuring that the NMI agenda is a consistent and sustainable part of everything they do every Friday.
I fully agree with everything that you've said in terms of NMI, well, our missions leader in churches, being an integral part of whatever the agenda is, yeah, I could definitely subscribe to that. When I talk about missions, I talk about how are we reaching outside of Trinidad and Tobago. So NYI did this video, that was there to encourage persons in St. Vincent, which was really lovely. And I like that idea coming from the districts. But how do we get people involved in doing that at a local level? When I talk about having a mission session once a month, it's focused more on external, it's focused more on the globe, on the world, right? Because from the time I've been involved in NMI, I've had this perspective that has been global and not just local, not just Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, I do a lot of compassionate ministries and a lot of different services here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I also run with God's vision for the world. So that's why I talk about having a missions session, a time to encourage young people to look beyond Trinidad and Tobago.
But some children, their world is just their community. Their world is just their church. And I'm saying that to say, like if we have district camp, and we're looking at the registration forms, or I interact with the children and so on, I inquire from them, so what church do you go to? I'm expecting to hear on my form, I'm expecting to see NWC, San Fernando, DB. But you know what I see and hear most of the time? Nazarene. So it means then that in my world as a child, I live in DB, and DB is my world. And I know there is St. James, and I know there's Marble, I know there's Tong, right? And I know there are further places too, like Arima and San Fernando. But my world is where I live. So in the first instance, as I spoke about the project in their community, that helps them with missions right there. That's reaching them in their world there. But we can also use it as a stepping ground to help them reach others, share their experiences with others in Trinidad and Tobago, because there is a church in the East Zone or a church in South Zone that does not have missions. But at my church, we talk about missions all the time. So we can now decide we're going to do a project to bring NMI or bring missions to that church in that zone. So it can be a project, and it's coming out of their world, although we're still local, and they are going out into all the world, right? So it's not literal, but for them it is something, right? David told me some time ago, Mommy, I need some life experiences. I need some more life experiences. So for the past year and a half, his life experiences is right in the apartment, right? We don't go anywhere. And I'm thinking, well, David, we have done a lot of things in the past. It's because of the pandemic we are right here. And then he spoke about his teacher. She was speaking about certain things in the environment, in the community of Diego Martin, where he goes to school. We don't live in Diego Martin, but that's where he goes to school. So when his teacher speaks about certain things there, the water wheel, and she mentioned many other things, the children from his class knew or had an idea of what she was talking about, but he didn't know. So he felt that he needs more life experiences, because that's outside of his world, of his environment, of his community. So that would be something for him. And when the children, when they get that idea or get that into their psyche that they can go out of their niche and tell others this is what we do, or carry a camper outside of their community, or just do whatever it is outside of their community. It's an introduction, it's a beginning. So as they continue to go and grow, the desire may be built, born in them to go outside of Trinidad and Tobago and to go into all of the world. Because we have to meet them at their point of existence. Just as there are monthly courses and outlines for your regular mission session, what I can remember is that there has been for the children, for the juniors as well. So that in itself would give the opportunity for a missions lesson every month. However, I am of the opinion that it doesn't have to be the every month thing. You can have a segment every week during every session, even if it's just a 2 minutes, so that it's there. It's there. We don't forget, because if I don't come to Sunday school that week that we stress out that is missions week, then I don't get missions for that month at all. You know, it brings to mind something that I did very many years ago. We wanted to do something for Alabaster. So I started talking to the children about Alabaster months before. I can't remember if it was the February or the September, which one. And I had a nice, fancy bottle of perfume that looked very expensive. And it was very small, you know. And I said, oh my goodness, it's probably smell like the alabaster thing. And so the children wanted it. And I gave everybody a little dot. And I told them we are going to save for alabaster and give it to the church. So every week when you come, bring some money for the alabaster box. And every time you bring alabaster offering, I'll give you some perfume. And that little, just a little dot they used to get. And so just that little 2 minute segment, missions was on the mind of the children for that period of time. I guess in both instances, monthly, yes, but it can be incorporated on a weekly basis for those children that would inevitably miss that missions week. Well, the only way we can, virtually. During this pandemic, my children have discovered YouTube and have had a deep love and desire for it, you know? So there was a time when one of them, probably two of them, said, when they grow up, they want to be a YouTuber. And it was, very daunting for me. I really had to seek God in how I would address that conversation, because I don't want my children to be YouTubers. But I guess in anything and in everything, there is a positive. So suppose the children and the youth, or the youth, decide that we're going to have a YouTube channel about missions. It would give them an opportunity to, first of all, do their research, because they need to know what they're presenting, and then present, right? Now, my boys babble in my ear all the time about how many times they have to upload, the YouTubers have to upload, and sometimes it's how many times per day or every week or whatever. If the children have to post something or upload something every week or every month or every however, it's an opportunity for them to be involved and engaged, and to get missions out there. It's an opportunity for them to show their creativity and reach the children at their level. Because of course I'm not interested in the YouTubers that they listen to, and they, but their peers will be interested in the same types of things that they are interested in. So, and one of the things about YouTubers is that you have to get views. So it will be their goal to get views from around the world. This is how they're reaching the world now, Lee, on their channel.
Man, I think that's great, Cindy. I fully endorse it. We have to be creative, and we really have to push some boundaries online. So what I was telling my team the other day is that we have to go boldly where no man has gone before in order to spread the word that we're trying to spread, right? So I was asking them, how do we get on Instagram? How do we get on TikTok? How do we get on Snapchat? What are we gonna put out? What content do we put out there that would really grab our young people attention? But Cindy and Lee, I'm gonna just flip the script again, as I love to do, and I always do with my team, and they hate when I do it, right? But how can I speak about missions without using the word missions? What can I say? Can we speak for 2 minutes about missions without using the word missions? And it's the same challenge I give to all my teams when we're doing something. Can you speak about what you do without using those buzzwords that you love and you always know? And that's the challenge that we really have to put out there as you build your YouTube channel, as you build Snapchat, and you build all these different things that they want to do and they're working on. How can we do it without saying the buzzwords? And what I would quickly say is that you need to take something that I call the Sesame Street concept. If you ever look at Sesame Street and they're talking about numbers and letters and stuff, it's a song, it's some kind of catchy thing that years later is still singing it. That is the concept that we have to be creative and we have to apply to our ministries. If you look at any episode of Sesame Street, not the new stuff at Elmo's Will and those stuff, because that's crazy. I can't stand that. But I'm talking about hardcore Sesame Street, where Sesame Street was sponsored by the number 5 and the number 7 and brought to you by the letter U. And the way they did that, they taught us how to read and write and do these numbers things, right? So even up to today, I have my brand new baby, and I'm singing Sesame Street stuff to her because I was taught that, and that's what I have inside me. So how do we spread this missions word without using the word missions, and to really be creative in terms of songs and laughter and stuff that easy to learn, easy to kind of send out into the world. There was a show called Circle Square a long time too. I don't know if anybody remembers Circle Square. I'm showing my age right now, but that was
Before my
amazing.
time.
I loved I loved
And
Circle Square.
Before my
I could still
time.
sing the theme
And in
song.
Cindy and Andy's time.
Cindy, do you remember Circle Square?
It doesn't matter if I remember it or
Yes,
not.
I
We
was in
brought
your
it up. So
time.
you just show your
Exactly.
age.
Happy
And
people come together, let the sun shine. So all I'm saying is these people were doing their gospel thing. And when you look at it, it really appealed to everybody. That was showing on TTT back then. And it was everybody used to stop and watch Circle Square. So all I'm saying is that there are so many creative ways that we could do it. We probably don't need to recreate the wheel, but we really need to come out of our buzzwords, because sometimes when people hear buzzwords, they kind of build that wall. How do we come out of our buzzwords and do what we need to do, and just be innovative and creative? So I would say use all the tools available and really and truly put out some cartoons and some doodles and some stuff that we used to use with Sesame Street long time.
Thank you all for joining us. And I pray that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And thanks for being at the workshop today to answer any questions that the participants would have.
Hey,
Thank
thanks.
you very much.
Thank you so much, Lee. Hey, Cindy, it's good to see you as always. Lee, there's a whole B department in NYI at your disposal. Anything you need, there are about 7 of them in that
So
department.
thank you
Send it.
very much, Lee, for inviting me to be a part of this session today. I hope that all that I was able to share would be of benefit to the ministry. My takeaway is whatever adults can do, children think they can do it better. So whatever you would put out for the adults, know that it can be geared towards the children and they can be engaged.
Nice. Thanks for pretending it's daytime where you are.
I think that, um, again, it's
Stand back because I just wiped my face and I realized I didn't spotlight you.
sorry, I'm a little conscious about my neighbors. Um,
I can't see Cindy anymore, right? So I don't know if she's going first. I don't know where she's gone. Like I am seeing me, I'm seeing Lee, and I'm like, where's Cindy? I can't see Cindy anymore. So
Yes.
I don't know why. Like I'm seeing me.
Oh, because I've spotlighted myself. Hold on.
but I'm seeing you, Andy.
Okay, you're seeing all of us now?
I wonder what's going on. I'm seeing me now. I don't know. You guys are hiding
Change your
from me.
view. Change your view to gallery
Did
view.
I do something? Maybe I did something. I don't know. Let me check. View. All
1
right,
second.
Cindy, there you are. I changed it to gallery view. There you are. I was like, where's Cindy gone? Oh my goodness. All right. Am I in trouble? I know I was going to get in trouble when I said that. Am I in trouble?
All right.
This is going to be some interesting editing, right? Anytime I said the word tonight anyway, just scratch it off, please.